changing glasses.
Good here. Good.
Doghouse, penthouse. What's everyone going?
Yeah.
Can you tell?
I need his notes. Because we use my thing for recording. I have a few options I want to go with, but I'll go last on Doghouse Penthouse. We're also going to do new intros today. I need the phone for notes to first.
I'm going with very broad doghouse, penthouse.
Yes,
not
fine.
individual people.
All right.
Are you the individual people, or are you...
No. I went the state of Texas for
Doghouse Penthouse?
Yeah.
I do two organizations,
Okay.
but one involves a people.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I swear to
I'm
God,
doing
if
about
this connects, I'm going to
A
punch
total
somebody in
of
the
12
face.
organizations in my two. But
Yeah.
it'll
That's
make
all right.
more sense.
It's fun having you on the show, man.
Yeah, excited to be here. I podcasted at work a little bit during COVID. It was just a way to get mass communication out.
It was funny. I was doing. I've heard several times like you should go into radio. You should go. Into
Yeah, you have a good radio voice.
So I'm at
Voice for radio, not
I'm,
face name radio, that's what they call
I'm
it.
down
Yeah.
in the emerging leaders program for work down in Georgia, and we got separated into teams. And my team had a pretty creative idea about doing like 4 different subscripts
Right.
to demonstrate certain things. So I became the one MC.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I'm like, God, I'm going through the whole thing, and now and I was kind of doing it. Now we're here, And the guy's
Buying
like,
into
dude, you need to do a podcast. I'm like,
I had a client, and I'm telling you, this guy sounded like Morgan Freeman.
Is that right?
It was insane.
Was it
He
Morgan
unfortunately just passed away.
So no, it
but
wasn't
he
Morgan.
oh, the
had...
client did, not
Yeah,
Morgan
yeah,
Freeman. I was
yeah.
like, what?
Well, Morgan Freeman's alive. But he had...
Like David Robinson, he's alive.
Yeah.
I said he's live. No, I said he's
That
live.
makes fun of
I
David
literally
Robinson.
said I was literally saying it live.
Right.
So, all right, you guys ready?
We just lost David Robinson.
You guys ready?
Still,
We're going
yeah,
live.
very
3,
much.
2, 1. All right, welcome to episode 4 of Outside the Coach's Box. We got our guest here today, cousin Ryan, joining us. So it's not just me and Big D. We're going to go over, first of all, if you guys are tuning in on Spotify, you probably noticed that we're going to experiment with some new intros to the show, as well as an outro. I already said cousin Ryan's here.
Just to be clear, this is nephew Ryan, because that would be
Right, cousin Ryan for me, nephew for Big D.
All right.
I got we're gonna take a look ahead at the college football playoff picture. Got our picks in for both college and the NFL. Maybe a little bit of college basketball talk. We're gonna bring back Doghouse Penthouse. Talk a little bit of the family flag football game at the end, and then we're gonna finally touch upon our new segment, Dunk of the Week, which again is brand new, and these guys don't even know about it. I sprung it on them last second. So let's get to start introducing Ryan first. So he's a coach. He's a football coach, former college football player. He's had a sad year in terms of football. He's a Notre Dame fan and Giants fan. Can't get any worse than that. I don't think so, can it? Oh, I mean, you're a Yankee fan too, with the same boat as me, which is not football related.
It's been about a decade of underperformance, so I don't know if it can get worse, but if it does, I'll let you guys know.
All right.
Have you met the Mets and Jets fans?
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
But no, I'm excited to have you on. As Ryan knows, as I said in episode 1, I've been trying to get together a podcast for, I don't know, the last 5 years easily.
Yeah.
And I pitched some the Big D over here. I pitched it to Ryan, cousin JP. Like, I wanted to get it off the ground. And I'm excited that you can join us. He's been listening to the podcast, and he texted me, what was that, Monday? Like, I want to get on. And
it was early.
Yeah, it was like I need to do this. And we're gonna get to the points that you want to get to. And I'm excited to hear that.
I've been a big talk radio guy over the last year
Yeah.
as I drive to and from practice. So I actually got on the fan for the first time.
There you
a couple
go.
weeks
Did you
ago.
really?
I did get cut off pretty quick.
Was Frank Sessa back?
No, they have a quick hook. I mean, if they don't like what you're saying or they want to belabor their points, they cut you off. But once
funny.
I heard Nick talk about something, I went grab my phone to call the 800 number, and I was like, well, it's a podcast. So
Yeah,
I'll
so-
just save it for when they have me.
True, and the only rule that we have for guests on the podcast is that they just have to, advertise for it, free advertisement for
Oh,
it.
of
So
course.
on your social medias, whatever.
I'll
Put it
repost.
out
I'll
there.
do it all tonight. I gave you guys a follow on Monday, I think.
There you go, a little
Tuesday.
Instagram follow. I like it.
Yeah.
A little subscription to our YouTube page at all, or
I haven't been on YouTube in decades,
Damn.
but we're out of football now, so it's either Huddle or YouTube TV. But
Fair
now I
enough.
can get back on YouTube.
So that's a reminder just to follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Instagram page, and then follow us or become followers. Right, followers are a thing on Spotify, right? You would know. I'm new
Yeah,
to
you
Spotify.
can get
Okay.
Yes, you can get followers
I
on
know
Spotify.
this
now,
guy
too.
doesn't know
Yes.
that Spotify. He thinks it's like still chisels and like
You
the
think
wall.
Spotify is-
Hey,
one
I
thing.
what do you call it? Purge? No.
You don't even know. You purged.
What
You
did I
killed
do?
people for.
A binge. That's what
You
it is.
binge. Okay.
I
Yeah.
binged, and I would give a shout out to it pre Veterans Day, but Pacific, which is the new version of
Yeah,
Band of Brothers
right.
from Pacific Theaters.
Uh-huh.
Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Phenomenal.
Where's that on?
It's on Netflix.
I thought so.
Is it Netflix or the Netflix for your group? Which one is it?
I think it's like 8 episodes, and it was really good. And at the end, which Spielberg often does, he does this little homage to who the characters, what they were about, real people.
Okay.
One guy was a Congressional Medal of Honor winner from New Jersey,
Oh, really?
John Basilone.
They did that for whatchamacallit too.
Schindler's
Band of
List.
Brothers.
He did that, yeah, Schindler's List, he did
Yeah,
that
Schindler's List. But I was thinking Band of Brothers.
Unfortunately, up in Nutley, Jill and I are exiled from Netflix. They caught us with the password sharing, so we
That's
can't watch
crazy to me.
Netflix at all.
The Obamas got you.
The
You know what's even worse is that
no new followers.
you know what's even worse is that I can watch it on my iPad because it's a portable device. But
Yeah.
if you try to screencast it, they right away.
Really?
No, get out of here.
Don't you find that funny that like all these streaming services are now just becoming cable companies? By the way, like they don't let you. It's basically like stealing cable back in the day, taking
Yeah.
somebody's wire and attaching it to your house.
So
Like
without
you
getting
can't-
too much into it, at work in 2018, we recognized this with an Indian streaming service. It's like they spend all their money, and I was like, "Does Netflix do this too?" And I looked, they spend all their money too. So I said, "Wait a second, they're all spending their money to try to just do what cable does on the internet." And sure enough, it took a long time, but here it is.
Yeah, I know.
If you add everything together, it's got to be more than cable.
Oh, absolutely.
That you
We
need
have
to
every
use.
streaming service known to. I mean, I share it with my parents, my sister, like YouTube TV for a Sunday ticket,
Your aunt.
basically. Yeah, HBO Max.
But if
Yeah,
you
you
pay
call-
for the service and you're allowed 3 or 4 users, what does it matter who it is?
Because they want the money. Like
But
that's
you
really
pay
what
for
it
the
is.
service that allows for 3 to 4 users.
Yeah,
At 3 screens at a time or whatever. But
That's
look,
great.
as long, it's
it's
the
working.
craziest
That's the
thing.
problem. Is they have a product that people want.
Yeah.
So they're realizing,
Well,
we can monetize it
only
in
for
a-
so much
in
longer.
a much bigger way. And that's what
How
you're
do we
seeing.
get into economics and shit, man? Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
back to the-
let's get into it. Let's get into it. Doghouse, Penthouse. I'll go last because I have a few that, and I'm hoping that you guys take some from mine. Otherwise, like my Doghouse, Penthouse might be a couple. So let's start with Big D. Or you want the guest go first? How do you want to do
Yeah,
this?
no, I guess.
All right, guest goes first. We're hosts.
So are we doing all Doghouse first, then all
So yeah, you
Penthouse?
go Doghouse, Penthouse, everywhere you
So I'm
want to
giving
do
both
it.
of mine.
All right, yeah, go for it. Let's
Okay.
go for it. Well, no, you go both. Yeah, I'm sorry. By
I'm
both.
going
I mean,
both of
Doghouse,
mine.
Penthouse. Yeah, go for it.
So in my Doghouse, I'm going New York sports. Period. End of story.
Oof.
You start with the Yankees, who decided to spend millions of dollars on
Baseball,
who. On what they could do different at an organization, and the findings were, well, we're going to do everything the same, right? That's what this week came out.
We're not an analytic team. We're not.
You got to throw a curse word in there if you want to.
We're not a fucking analytics
I mean, you have Cashman making decisions, Boone being the manager. It's just going to be more of the same. And I don't know if anyone caught that Cashman interview. He just defended everybody.
Yeah, no, it was atrocious, and being a Yankee fan, absolutely made me want to throw something through the screen at him. I mean, if the boss was still alive, he'd be rolling.
He is rolling.
Yeah,
in his
he's
grave.
rolling in his grave. If he was still alive, he'd clean house. He'd fire his own son.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to chip in your
No
doghouse
problem.
here.
Then you go to the Mets, who signed every shiny object in the book last year, and this year they chose to sign the Yankees hitting coach as their man, or bench coach as their manager.
Yeah.
I mean, just very, very different style from what you've seen.
And two of the shiny objects played in the World Series.
Yeah. We'll start with the
And
Yankees.
one should have been, but he got hurt.
Well, he was the MVP for the other team for a while, sure. But
Yeah.
he got
He
it
pitched
together.
great in that one game.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. Once
For
he,
3 innings.
But then
Yeah,
they also
that-
had Rangers went out and got DeGrom, and unfortunately he got hurt. But there's 3 Mets pitchers.
Two Mets pitchers have rings. I mean, if you told a Met fan that 2 years ago, they would have signed up for it. Little did they know. And then obviously the Jets are just a joke of an organization. My Giants, I don't have any words for them. The injury bug is the least of their problems. They hire a guy that's an offensive coach. He is a joke.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say he's a joke, but you can critique. I'm sure you guys know as coaches, in-game coaching decisions are splitting hairs. Hindsight's always going to be 2020. This man was hired to upgrade the offense. He comes in, the offense. Last year they won games. The offense stunk. I'm tired of winning games 17-13, 12-6. I mean, when we beat a team 3-0, we say we kick the shit out of them. So I understand a win is a win, but
That's a classic 1970s
yeah,
game.
you look at today's offense. I mean, they have like 3 touchdowns outside of the Arizona Cardinals second half. They have 2 touchdowns or something on the season. The Knicks are the Knicks. They're never going to get to the next level. And then
No, we talked about that on the last podcast.
Yeah.
Julius Randle like giving up on a
You
play
have-
and walking down the court.
you have a Robin character in Jalen Brunson that they want to make Batman, and that's just good. Unless they go out and get Embiid or someone bigger, right? I thought
Zion.
Jalen Brown would have been perfect for them. Someone that can put the ball in the basket, a stretch 3.
It's not flashy enough for Dolan.
Well,
he wants Zion
Dolan-
so bad.
Well, that's the other reason they're in the
Yeah.
doghouse, just because of Dolan.
Yeah.
So New York sports, period.
So,
it goes
no.
on and on.
That's great, but before we get to your next one, your penthouse, I want to talk about. You mentioned the Jets a little bit, and I don't know. Did you see Salah's press conference on when one of the reporters asked
That was
him
a
why?
phone interview.
Oh, the phone
next
interview.
day.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. I just saw
the headline. Yes.
and I read the article heading into it, but the Zach Wilson comment that he was asked why is Zach Wilson still the starting quarterback, he said it beats me.
Yeah.
First of all, that's so bad for Salah, right? Like how do you justify that as a coach saying like, and then second of all, like I think Zach Wilson's a good. He passed for almost 250 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns, and he had several guys, including
Drops.
Garrett Wilson, drop the ball.
Well, he has talent, but
no offensive
I'm
line.
glad you reminded me of this. My point with the Jets was really going to be they go all in on Aaron Rodgers, Unk's boy over here. And
Pleasant
it
Valley
wasn't
Vikings go
just
out.
Aaron Rodgers, though. They went all in on Nate Hackett. It was a package deal with Alan Lazard, who leads the league in drops. You know who's second in drops?
It's got to be Garrett Wilson.
Randall Cobb,
Randall Cobb.
another Packer.
Well,
they have,
wait a minute, this year.
Throws the ball.
yes, this year. If he I'm sorry,
I was gonna
let
say,
me
he
step
gets the
back.
ball thrown
So
that
If
way?
he qualified, if he had the number of targets, he would still lead the league in drops.
So is that a
Jeez.
chicken or the egg thing, though? Is it because Zach Wilson's not putting the ball in the spots that Aaron Rodgers would?
Did you see that game that we saw? He literally put a guy on the numbers and he dropped the ball in the end zone.
That was some nondescript guy who, yes.
I'm pretty sure it was their tight
That was
end
at the end of the
Conklin,
game. It
wasn't
didn't matter. It was Conklin. But I think
But there's a major difference between Rodgers and
Garrett Wilson got hit right
if
in
you
the hand with the
heard
jump ball.
what they really were planning with Hackett, first of all, Hackett was only there because Rodgers was
Oh,
there. A lot of people think he was the OC in Green Bay for the 2 MVP seasons, which he was. He was the OC, but he didn't call plays.
Right.
This year is his second ever year calling plays.
Yeah.
Who
The
did call
first
plays
was
that year, by the way?
LaFleur.
Oh, was it?
Matt
LaFleur?
LaFleur was the play
I thought-
caller.
Oh, that's right. Different years. I thought it was Michael.
Yeah,
McCarthy.
good
I
try.
was looking for it.
So, he's still learning to be a play caller, and that's, they thought they would call something, Rodgers could get them in and out of certain looks, and Wilson can't do that. He's in
Well,
his,
that's the big difference, right?
and that's your chicken or the egg
You
point.
can give two plays to Rodgers, and he'll pull 3 and 4 out of his
Yes.
pocket by reading the defense.
Correct.
Zach Wilson comes out with one read,
Yes.
and if it's not there, he shits his pants.
Right.
I'm just
And-
saying this. Hot take. I think Zach Wilson is going to leave the Jets and become like an all-pro quarterback.
Yeah,
I
just like Darno.
No, that's completely different.
Darnold,
I never said that
whatever
about
his
Darnold. Darnold
I
to
think-
me looked like guys seeing
Just
ghosts
like
on the field.
Sanchez.
Yeah. Well,
I think
Come on.
quarterback in the NFL is becoming more and more. I think about it, the more and more it is really an apprenticeship to your starting quarterback or a really good coach. So you look at what Kyle Shanahan's done in San Fran with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
No one was mentoring him how to be an NFL quarterback, but Shanahan is a really good coach. If you look at Trevor Lawrence, he was a disaster with Urban Meyer, who comes along, but Doug Peterson, who
Was a
showed him how to.
quarterback guy, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes got the best of both worlds.
Yes.
He's also the most talented, but he
Yeah,
had
and
Alex
Alex
Smith
Smith,
and
He also got a coach
Andy
who
Reid.
loves to use passing as an extended run game.
absolutely, and he's innovative, right? I think the one thing that most offenses lack is innovation, and Andy Reid's got people playing ring around the rosy,
I love that.
pausing, breaking, snapping, and
that
scoring.
is the craziest thing. And he's kind of like, we talk about old heads and like young guys all the time. He is an old head that constantly, you just said, is innovative on offense, and he lets the guys participate in the play calling. It is great.
So football coaching stories that I love. One has to do with Andy Reid. The other has nothing to do with anything we're speaking about. But The first is Andy Reid, I believe, on Mondays. That's a big film study day, and not a lot of the players come in and watch film, but there's no real football practice or anything on Mondays. Him and the offensive staff sit in the coach's room. They get an hour or 2 hours and just draw plays.
Yeah.
It just go out, have
Come
at
up
it. It
with
looks
something.
like graffiti at the end, but it just shows you how innovative that he lets them be, and he takes input from everybody.
It's like the Geico commercial where the guy's drawing this, that.
Yeah.
He goes, that's Big Z.
Exactly. And, Mahomes does
Yeah.
the same thing now. I'm sure he's in there. I think there's some documentary that Mahomes was the one doing the ring around the rosy.
Yeah, the quarterback. It was quarterback on
yeah,
Netflix.
right.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Can't keep track of any of them.
No, yeah, I know.
And
That's what made me appreciate Kirk Cousins more too. And unfortunately, the Achilles tendon injury spreading its way through the NFL is
And actually, you guys were talking about Nick Saban in Alabama last week. I had a good fact for you guys, but I wanted to save it. Since 2008, does anyone know Alabama's record? Overall record. We're in 15 years later.
So they play about 13 regular season games a year.
So what, they have
That's
like 8
4.
losses in there?
I think it's 10 losses and 128 wins.
Yeah, wow,
right?
that's-
I mean, that's
yeah.
a dynasty.
And
So
it's
you
not
said
like-
Georgia's got a long way to go.
Yeah,
but
but
he wins 3 in a
point,
row.
I get it.
That
I
was
get
why
it.
if he
The
wins 3 in a
trifecta.
row,
Yeah, no, I get
especially
it.
if
I
he's
get it. It was a different point,
undefeated.
but
That is true, yeah.
absolutely. And remember, he is a Hail Mary away from going for his 4th
Yeah.
in a row.
Yeah, that is true.
And I'm with you. I was on the Georgia bandwagon
Early.
the minute that Hail Mary went. I immediately switched to a Georgia hater because I knew they were going to be really good.
Yeah. They honestly, it's been one of the agonizing things in sports when teams get really good
Yeah, it's sad.
that aren't your team.
And then you wish that you saw one of the old dynasties
Like
from
the
a year
Bulls.
earlier,
Oh, yeah, that's
even a
it,
year earlier, play that team. I would love to see Nick Saban's best team play Kirby Smart's best team, but you never get to see it.
That
right?
is true.
Or even the Clemson teams that were really good.
We don't have to go there.
Yeah,
Get to your
we don't have
penthouse,
to.
man.
So
now,
anyway,
now you ruined it. Get to your
Penthouse, I'm going to
penthouse.
put the AFC North in. I think you have 4 really good football teams. I
Yeah.
think the Ravens are, in my mind, for the last couple of weeks, have been the odds-on favorite. I actually had a little parlay: Phillies, Ravens, Florida State. It was like one of those $10 pays $20,000. Philly blows game 6 and 7,
Yeah.
so I lose. I'm almost guaranteeing you the other 2 hit, just because that's the way of the world.
Yeah.
As
Should you go out and parlay those two together?
No. At that point, you're throwing good money after bad. But Nick knows this. I don't know if Uncle Darren knows this. My second favorite team in the NFL is the Bengals, who's starting to play what I think is
Yeah.
championship level
Yeah, they're
football.
Don't let JP hear
Finally
that.
starting to click.
Somebody had this hot
Joe
take
Burrow.
the other day. The Steelers might be the worst team in the league, but they're
They're
5-3.
5-3.
So it's crazy to me. They just win, right? That's what. You
Win to
want do.
win. People talk about all the time sloppy wins, whatever. But one thing that we expressed last year, my coaching staff expressed last year was, celebrate the wins, even the close ones, or against the bad ones, as you like to say. And that's something that towards the end of our tenure coaching together, like our team struggled with, Big D's in mind, because you would run into this like. It'd be like a morgue after walking in the locker room after when it's like,
Yeah, it becomes more
What is going
business
on
like.
here?
It's just- when winning is expected, you forget how enjoyable it is.
right.
And-
So enjoy the
Even
wins.
the year we beat RBC in our gym,
yeah,
I walk in the locker room. I was expecting girls to be going crazy.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you sit on like not know
Business
what to
as
do. I'm like,
usual.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, we exhausted all our energy on the court
Yeah.
winning after you absolutely was that the game where literally before the game started you were pumping the coach up like saying because
Yes,
he just hit his like 600th
Montano
win.
had just won his
Yeah.
600th win the week before. So I had our guy, Mr. Announcer guy, make sure that he does. I gave him a little script.
Yeah.
We want to acknowledge him. We acknowledge him. I go over, shake his hand, give him a little bro hug, and then I came back to our huddle and I said, "Now let's kick his ass."
That's great. I mean, I'm not going to comment on that because
Yeah, just-
it's sacrilegious.
All right, let's get
so then the Browns,
All
I
right,
think they're
sorry.
playing really good defense. The offense is going to come along. So
AFC North.
I mean,
and New York sports. But
they got
the
massage
caveat
things
is
out on offense.
Rick Pitino has a chance to flip everything around starting
chance.
Monday at the Garden.
I just want to say this.
I'll defer to you now.
My joke I just spent went totally underrated. when you said the Browns, their offense click, I said they just need to massage a few things. So out there.
Did
It's
you see
just-
the Brady
it's just-
Quinn thing from a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago?
I did.
Are you saying Rick Pitino because he's with Iona and that's going to change?
No, he was St. John's.
Oh, St.
He's-
John's. I'm
he's-
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
can
yeah.
have that place
His son
buzzing.
was
They
with
play
Iona.
Michigan
He was with Iona, too.
Monday night. They opened at Carneseca
Yeah.
a couple nights ago against Stony Brook, but they play Michigan in a new series. It's the Big Ten Big East
Yeah.
showdown. Big East basketball might get in the penthouse eventually.
There you go.
So St. John's is going to be good for a couple of years, then they'll be under investigation.
Well, they play Duke this year, so it's
Listen,
not going to be
St.
that
John's
bad.
has a lot of talent. All right, don't question the madness. Just
a lot of talent who
The
didn't.
ends justify the means. All right. Listen, we're struggling New York fans. Give us a break. These guys are worried about 6 years from now. I just want a winning season.
I was a big fan of St. John's when Muller
Yeah.
was the coach.
Yeah.
I thought he would, because he was a
Yeah.
Johnny, I thought he'd bring it back around. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he just didn't have the possession. Patino's a great coach.
Yeah,
He's a great coach.
he's very accomplished. I think we talk about it every year. He's on all these lists.
Yeah, no, he is.
Who has 2 national championships?
But what's
Who
the
has-
attraction to St. John's anymore? It's
He's
not
an
like
Well, it's a
guy.
revival
Yeah.
for him, and now in the age of NIL, they have the big booster. What the heck's his name? The Vitamin Water founder, Mike Rapino.
Rappaport? Not
No,
Rappaport.
no, it's
That's a bad one.
Rapino, maybe.
Rapino's a
Rapino's a
soccer
soccer player.
player.
Rapioli. I don't know.
Okay.
Something
with an R.
rat. Something and
Billionaire.
something rat.
Divorced St. John's when they fired Chris Mullen because he didn't like the way that whole thing went down. He did
Gotcha.
an explosive interview on The Fan with Mike Francesa. You guys should
There you
definitely check that out.
He
And-
didn't do one on the fan with Mike Francesa.
but this is, college is weird for The Fan. But,
Yeah, that is true.
Look, they're going to put hundreds
It's
of
in New York,
millions
though.
into the program.
Yeah.
New York is still
Yeah.
the capital of basketball. High
Well,
school
we can touch
basketball.
upon that later when we get more into it, but I might differ from you on that. New York still, although I did give them credit on the last pod saying MSG is still the mecca.
Yeah,
but
I
it's-
like that. I like that take. There's nothing like an electric MSG.
Yeah.
No,
and,
there isn't.
and it's being revitalized. The outside,
Yes,
it's been under
putting a lot
construction for a
into it.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to the city's brutal. But go ahead, come on, Doghouse, Penthouse, Big D.
Dog, and I apologize ahead of time, Ryan.
Yeah.
This is going to kind of play into what you were talking about, but my doghouse is the Giants organization specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, they give Daniel Jones a mediocre quarterback at best.
Oh, yeah.
He had a good year last year. Dare I say, borderline great year last year for a Giants.
They won
quarterback.
games, like we
they won
talked
games,
about.
and he was exciting as a
Yeah.
player. But they gave him $160 million last offseason
Good job, Giants.
and can't keep
Worth it.
him on the field this season.
So,
So they're going to end up getting the number 1 draft pick, probably. What do?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
you have no.
They
You
bring
have
in
to,
offensive line. I agree with you, but they're going to go Marvin
no. You
Harrison
have
Jr.
to draft. You have to draft one of these generations.
Then what do you do with a $160 million contract?
So you're going Caleb Williams. You're replacing Daniel
Yeah,
Jones.
and you know it really sucks for me because if you look at my Twitter, I don't tweet a lot anymore, but there's at least 10 tweets in a row that says USC is just Oklahoma with yellow in the unis, and it's directed right at Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams. I'm gonna have to atone
You're
for
not
all
wrong.
that. No, they just added yellow. I mean, literally every time they lose, I quote tweet myself.
it's-
I add Caleb Williams and I say you just added yellow to your jersey.
yeah, they're 51 to 54 losses
Right.
every time. So like against the big schools, yeah.
So look, the injury is actually the best thing that happened
Yeah.
to the Giants because they have insurance against it. 80 million is guaranteed. They can cut ties with them after next year. It sounds like a lot
After
of
next
money
year, though.
because it is a lot
But
of money.
they give him the bucket of money, and then they argue with themselves about giving Barkley the bucket of
Yeah,
money, who
you're
is
right.
a freaking workhorse.
Yeah.
Even though he
Saquon
has
should
some
get
tender
paid.
He should get paid.
He's made of like something better than glass. I don't know what like the next level. Like Gronk was made of glass. I don't know what the step above like glass is, but that's what Saquon is. So I can
Rubber
see the
band,
Giants.
elastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
elastic. I can see them not paying or wanting to pay
Okay.
Saquon everything that he wants because again, running backs they're so
But
developed.
if you go again,
I think your point is
organizationally,
between the two, you had Daniel Jones and you had Saquon. Saquon is definitely proved. Well, this year he's having probably his best year.
organizationally though,
Yeah.
organizationally, you paid a mediocre quarterback $160 million. You won't pay one of the best running backs in the league, right? You make him go to franchise tag, whatever, and then put no offensive line from him. It's like me and your father and Uncle John are the offensive line for the Giants.
yeah,
Right.
no,
The Giants have drafted the most offensive linemen in the last decade. They just haven't
That is
gotten it
crazy.
right.
The
They
bad
haven't-
ones,
suck.
the
They
haven't
Flowers,
got- they
the
haven't gotten it right.
Thomases, the
Well, Thomas is good, but Everybody else has been
Yeah.
terrible.
Well, who was? It wasn't Thomas. Sorry,
Thomas
who
is the
was
one that just got paid. You're thinking
the guy. The guy that
You know what's pretty ironic? Justin Pugh was a first-round pick for the Giants.
Yeah.
He got ran out of town because
He's
the
done
Giants
that,
hated
yeah.
him. He went to Arizona, became a great pro, and now he's the reason that they even have a team because at the rate the offensive line was going, they were going to be on their 12th quarterback.
Who's the guy that LaGreca tore apart for saying like the critics out there? Were
Evan Neal.
Evan
The
Neal, thank you.
hamburger,
Yes,
yes.
hamburger flipper guy.
You know what's great
Love
about Evan
that.
Neal
He
is
sucks.
he was the consensus number 1 overall pick going into that draft. He was a sure thing, can't miss.
There's no sure thing.
The way everything shook out, he fell to the Giants, and he has just been
awful.
You think offensive
Very
line is the same as quarterback in the NFL? Like if you have like the Cowboys have always had a pretty solid offensive line. They started with Smith a few years back, Tyron Smith, and then they got some good like Travis Frederick, who everybody like said was
Yeah,
terrible,
they had
but he was
They
good.
had that unit for a while.
Yeah, and then Zach Martin, but like, did they all learn from Tyron Smith, who probably learned from somebody? Like, and
I
then
think the
they had good
NFL is an
coaches?
apprenticeship league,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have to play together in the NFL
Yeah.
to be good on
Yeah.
the offensive line.
Yeah,
Tiki
they
Barber's always talking about it. Preseason matters, and you see the first 6 weeks of the season in the NFL is like it's awful now. And I think you'll see a reversion. I think teams will start playing a little bit more. You have to communicate to be good in the offensive line. They don't-
Chemistry is everything on the field.
There was one time they ran just like a little twist. I'm making it sound more simple than it is, but you're supposed to bump it, right? So this guy takes
Yeah.
the in cut and the tackle takes the out cut. The guard is running around the tackle. I
That
was
drives
like,
me
what
crazy.
the heck is going
I
on?
said that to
It
him.
looks like Pee Wee football.
I said that to him literally in Philly, where Terrence Steele was getting torn apart, and they kept on doing that simple stunt. I'm like, they practice this on practice, right? Like they go over this, but yet somehow Terrence Steele was chasing his tail, and Dak was on his ass.
Chargers ran it 6 times in a row against the Jets, and it was just sack. It
I
was
want to
like
be
a
with
clinic.
you when Cowboys play. And I know I'm not going to be because you're going to be at a wedding this Sunday, but it'd be
Yeah.
awesome because when Micah Parsons gets like 10 sacks on
So
what we're just talking about,
That
it's going to be really fun.
actually plays into my penthouse.
All right, let's
Here we
hear it.
go.
The Cowboys front 7 will be in the
Alright.
penthouse.
Oh, it's a prediction penthouse.
boy.
No,
Oh,
this
no.
is
they are already in the
I hope we can
penthouse.
Keeping them there for a
They're
while.
a solid front
They are.
7. But if you think about the fact, and they got to be licking their collective chops right now because they got 11 sacks against Daniel Jones in the first game.
Yeah.
Here's Tommy DeVito back there, who's
You mean Danny?
as mediocre as Daniel Dimes was. Tommy DeVito's
is-
not. And then they have a 33-year-old Matt Barkley who was just signed. It doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
he was never a good quarterback.
Another
to begin
USC
with.
great, by the way.
Yeah, but never a good quarterback. So.
Yeah, they're not very good.
I think Micah and Tank and the rest of the boys are just going to be going crazy.
So that kind of plays into one of my picks for later, and so I won't comment too much on it. But I like the preemptive penthouse. Like you already have them there
Yeah.
resting for Sunday.
Rent free, by the way.
When they sack Arnold's twin, Danny. And that's a great movie reference. You wouldn't know. Ryan's not a movie guy, a sports movie guy. I'd love to have you back on here when we do a Coach's Starting 5 and do sports movies. Because it'd be interesting, especially with 3 of us. 15 sports movies would be
Oh,
tough.
yeah.
But I think you'd be good at it because sports movies,
Well, you can't
pretty
forget
good.
about Ricky Bobby.
Yeah,
NASCAR.
NASCAR. Yeah, I
NASCAR
agree.
is a sport.
Hey, I had them in my father's son in the first episode, which I'm sure people didn't get that far because of the clicking noise. But like at the very end, we did we called top 5 at the time instead of Coach Starting 5, and I had Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Senior in my starting 5 because I was like NASCAR. Yeah, absolutely.
NASCAR is
So.
a sport. I don't know how, but it's a sport.
Yeah. Well, you gotta. I think it's like the torque that they take. While like,
Whatever.
otherwise, you're shitting your pants like, in the car. Like, oh god.
It's pretty cool. My good friend of mine and her husband, I used to work with both of them in different projects, but both sons are into NASCAR racing, and her oldest son, Michael D'Orlando, is actually coming up the ranks. So he's won, and I forget what level is it. He's probably like 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
So he's won at those levels.
Okay.
And he got in pole position, all that.
Pretty awesome.
But they were telling me one day how much they spend on it. I was like, holy shit!
Oh my God.
I'm glad I coached basketball.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, all those sports, though, really.
Yeah.
I mean, even hockey is
Yeah.
an expensive habit. It's an expensive endeavor. And
Yeah, it's also like taxing on the parents because they have to wake up so early in the morning
late
practices.
night,
Yeah.
whenever you can
Yeah.
get the ice.
But it's pretty cool when I've been watching. She does a great job of marketing his career.
Uh-huh.
and so I'll get like LinkedIn stuff or emails, and it's cool to follow him. He's,
Yeah,
he's having good early
You
success.
can make some pretty decent.
And his
money.
brother Nick's not far behind.
It's pretty cool.
Not me.
You could be like shaking bacon.
His brother Nick.
Yeah, I know.
That again would be awkward.
You don't
got-
have a brother.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I got two. I got you and JP.
He's
Yeah,
also
there you go.
someone's
Yeah.
brother, so I retract
That's
that
true. Yeah.
statement. Cut it.
I got. There's no cut.
I know.
This is basically a
Raw
live
footage.
show
Yeah.
with like just very little editing involved. So
That's
whatever says here is whatever is said here stays here. So or
No, it
stays
doesn't.
online and whatever. But all right, I'll go into my doghouse. I'm gonna go with my penthouse first because I'm gonna. So I had two, but with the new segment Dunk of the Week, I'm reserving that one because it's just so good, and I can't wait to tell you guys about it. But my penthouse is actually a former Giant, Antonio Pierce, and it is because at every level, which is just two by the way, he went from high school right into the NFL, phenomenal.
He was at Arizona State as like a linebacker coach.
Yeah, but as like a head coach.
Yeah,
a head
yeah,
coach.
yeah.
Sorry,
Okay, fair
my
enough.
apologies. As a head coach, apparently all he does is trounce people in debuts. In his high school debut, he won 99 to 10. 99. I don't know how that's done, but 99 to 10. And then of course in his NFL debut, I mean, no offense,
was
this is
easy.
just like prodding at like
Yeah.
a defenseless animal or something like that. But
Couple-
30 to 6.
A couple buddies and I put together a bet when the Giants went down 7-0.
Yeah.
And they were driving. So they went from like plus 300 to like plus 185, right?
Yeah.
So we put this bet in. It included the Giants, and it was the night game with the Bengals. The next play, Daniel Jones tore his ACL.
Let's
talk
about
You wasted
So
your
the
one
moon.
bet on your bachelor party weekend when they ended up beating the Cardinals. Like
Yes.
you went in on that
Yes.
one and they won. It's just like
Yes,
that was your only
went while I
miracle.
was
Yeah.
still behind, but kind of ahead.
Yeah, fun weekend, but yeah, everybody fell behind on that one. So that was my penthouse. My doghouse, I have a tough one because there are 3 legitimate ones I want to go with, but I'm gonna go with the state of Michigan for this one. The state of Michigan is in my doghouse not only because
I see where you're going.
the
with this
Connor
one.
Stallion cheating scandal, which only seems to be getting worse and worse as it goes on, and Harbaugh's not taking any responsibility for it. Michigan just wrote a letter to the
He
Big
had
Ten.
no knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Big Ten. They wrote a response letter to the Big
Yeah,
Ten
did you read
saying
that?
we
10
don't.
pages?
Yeah, well, not all 10 pages, but yeah, I do have to work for a living.
Yeah, of
this,
course.
This isn't bringing any money. Hopefully not yet. Sponsors, if you're listening, please. No. And then we'll be able to get on Apple because they charge you to put their.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I when I started this. This is why we're only on Spotify. A little behind the scenes there, folks. But yeah, so they respond saying that he had no knowledge, that he shouldn't be suspended. Then they write a response letter saying that I think like Michigan State, Ohio State, Rutgers, they're like sharing Michigan's,
Purdue, Ohio
Yeah.
State, Rutgers.
which to me,
Wait a minute.
Again, it goes
isn't
to-
the no knowledge thing what Joe Paterno used during the Sandusky thing?
Joe Paterno, Rick Pitino used it for the whole Louisville thing.
He also had no knowledge.
Right. But like so you have that, and then they're accusing people of stealing their signs or sharing their signs, which again, if you're not recording it, which I for my sake of this podcast, I'm hard Michigan cheater now, so they cheated, no doubt about it. But as coaches in high school, so maybe it's different. We don't have the NCAA looming over us, although we do have the equally inept NJSIAA. Yeah, I took a shot right there. I'm all for it. The NCAA should allow coaches to communicate each other. When we share film with each other, we talk about like, oh yeah, if you're going to talk about a local school, like Middletown did this against us, and they, it's just natural to share.
The Michigan
so,
thing goes a lot further. It goes well beyond just sign stealing or taking.
Yeah.
It was an intentional scheme to decode
Yeah.
the other team.
I mean, I haven't even talked about Stallion going on Central Michigan sideline yet, but that's another part of it. Like that's the craziest part
add
about
that
it.
to the Michigan else.
Right. Well, and then Michigan State basketball loses
Yes.
to JMU,
Yeah,
which
take it easy.
football-wise, JMU
major.
we need to get into.
Take it easy.
Hey.
Yeah, he's a big Izzo guy.
But
I'm a huge
but
Izzo
a
guy.
mid-major.
Yeah,
but
It's a win-win.
which
It is.
you'll like
it is
this
a
though.
win-win in a way. So.
You'll like this though, which Ryan shared with us after being confirmed that he was going to be on the podcast, was Michigan State's first November home loss since 1986 against the still live David Robinson and the Navy midshipmen. So that's right, yeah, go Middies.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I do send you quite a bit of naval
Yes,
stuff.
you do.
2 things
Yeah.
in the
You're
last couple months, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah, but I don't mean to interrupt your
No, you did because you're an Izzo lover. Like it's
No,
fair.
it's
Like
not-
you love
There
Izzo.
are certain coaches in their organization that if you're gonna get them, you got to get them early in the season. When I was
point.
coaching at Modern Day, George,
okay, so
Sorless was that guy at Rumson, King George. Even though he had 8 bazillion wins,
Yeah.
and the last year I coached at Modern Day, I had 4 freshmen starting for me at the varsity level, and I told the girls just that if we're gonna win, it was December, like the second game of the year. If we're gonna beat this team, we got to do it now. And we ended up losing by 6 with 4 freshmen starting.
Right.
But to that point, I mean, Izzo's one of those guys that come mid-season, he's gonna have that team clicking. So,
Raritan football right around the corner.
You'd think.
I think you're right. I agree with you.
I don't
mean,
know. Izzo kind of he flops year in and year out. There's some years where I agree with you. He comes in hard. Usually towards the Big Ten is where he starts revitalizing on bad years, down years. But this year,
That's just style too. If you look at the Big
Yeah.
Ten, lost almost every game last year in the tournament.
yeah,
But the years, I think the knock on Izzo more recently is the years where he's supposed to be really good,
they're not
Yeah,
good.
he's
Yeah.
early.
and the years where they're average, they make the run, and that's
Yeah.
what adds to his
Some of
legend.
that-
Don't tell me
See,
about
some
like
of that-
2008 against Duke and then
Yeah.
2016 against Duke. It's
Denzel
usually
Val-
Duke that gets screwed. whenever.
Denzel Valentine, but remember
Yeah.
Denzel Valentine? They were a 2 seed. They lost about 4 games all year, and they got knocked by Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah.
Coach
That was his
Torrey
senior year.
Denzel,
Yeah, that's right. It was
The son,
Hamptons.
can't
I want to say
remember.
Hamilton or something like that. Not Richard.
Looking at
Hamilton.
the guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He's got like the pepper, like,
Hunter,
Hunter,
RJ
yeah,
Hunter.
RJ Hunter's father. Yeah, that's it. Hunter.
I
I knew it was
thought-
an H. Hamilton, Hunter, close enough.
I've done a lot of like watching a lot of film of Izzo and some of the stuff
Yeah.
he puts out there. But I love the way he recruits. Number one, they're long, they're fast, they have the desire to rebound.
Yeah.
And so and then I watch some of the drills that he does around running the floor and rebounding. And those are things that are not taught in basketball anymore. So,
I like Izzo because his guys stay.
Yeah.
It's not commonplace
Yeah.
in basketball anymore. And I think college basketball is a better sport when guys are there for longer than a year.
100%.
So let's talk about college basketball a little bit since we're going there. We'll do a quick transition because it's still early season, but you got some big games coming up. You got the Champions Classic, which is always a good matchup, which Michigan State will be in, Duke, Kentucky and Kansas. I mean,
That's a big one.
yeah, we've seen some upsets early on in college basketball, including the one that I just mentioned. Like, do you feel like it's more open like now with the one and dones? But I mean, some schools, I don't know. I feel like it's open, but it's not. I feel like you have the Dukes of the world that if you're able to get guys to say like John Shire did, forget about it. Like I
Well-
feel like that if they don't win this year, it's gonna be like 2015 Kentucky not winning.
Yes and no, because Kansas has a loaded team, right? Hunter Dickinson, as much as I do not like him,
Michigan guy. Can't.
is a good basketball player.
Former Michigan guy can't.
In the age of the transfer portal, you're going to see a lot of these.
I mean, free agency. Just call it.
Yeah,
It's free agency.
you see a lot of these power teams, right? Whether it's freshmen or returners or a combination
Yeah.
of the two. But let's look at last year's Final Four. Who made it? You had FAU,
Yeah,
who
San Diego State.
was ridden with teams that players that were on the team for a while. I think they're all returning now, but you didn't have any freshman studs.
This was the best Final Four
That was a
grouping,
good
and it was
one.
so heartbreaking for those that are on YouTube and seeing.
But
This was the
San Diego
one.
State was
Yeah.
senior laden.
senior league. Yep.
Who won? Connecticut had
UConn.
no freshmen. Well,
Yeah,
one,
Huskies.
the big boy. I can't think of Clinigan.
Yeah.
And then you had the fourth team was Miami, who was junior, senior heavy.
Yeah.
So, is it open? I think talent-wise, yes, but I think camaraderie is still going to rule out, and until someone can prove us different in the age of freshman ball.
Yeah.
I call it freshman ball.
Yeah.
Duke was better at winning when they had
People
3-4
say.
year starters.
Yeah,
You've been
Carlos
dancing around
Boozer,
it, but that
Bagley.
chemistry on the court cannot be replaced just by talent. It
Yeah.
can't, especially not in a game where there's five core guys and a rotating piece around it. Because if you're relying on true freshmen as your core, then what's rotating around it?
Yeah.
You know.
And they have 5 months together. You're going through. When you're in the off season, you're battling with these guys. You're working out every day. I know they do that, but it's a much shorter time
Yeah.
now. For the 5 months before the season starts, it's really like 3 months.
But practice is not the same as games. It's great to
Correct.
get ready for games, but as a defense in practice, I know what's coming from the offense I'm playing. you know?
And a lot of these guys, like even in, like if you look at the Big East, they fly out to the Midwest now. Like Villanova, those seniors have been to Butler's locker room 4 times. Like we don't think a lot about that, but a freshman, it's all new to them.
Yeah.
A sophomore, they have familiarity.
Yeah.
It's only going to get
True
crazier
enough.
too with the expansion of the leagues and everything, conferences.
I don't know
with
what's
the
going to
SEC.
happen there.
Yeah.
I personally advocate for have XYZ basketball, football
Oh, I agree with you,
separated.
yeah.
Put Syracuse back in the Big East for basketball. Let them stay in the ACC for football. Whatever you want to do there, I don't care. Pittsburgh, put them
Well, there's
back.
no Big East for football anymore, right?
There was no.
Yeah, it's the AAC right now. The American Athletic Conference essentially became the
the
Big
old
East.
Big East is the new AAC.
Yeah, which is not even
In
true
terms
anymore
of the
because
public schools, the Catholic
Yeah.
schools stayed, and they were going to rename themselves the Catholic 10. Fun fact,
Oh,
but they
that's cool.
decided not to because all of their commercial deals were with the Big East, and that's the reason the Big East tournament is still at Madison Square Garden
Huh.
through those dog years.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I go every year. It is
Yeah.
awesome. Uncle D, that's something you got to do. You got to go to a Friday night semifinal.
helps that your fiance is big.
Well, don't forget me when
Yes.
you don't forget me when you get tickets. Right?
Absolutely, I'll put you in this year. My brother, my future brother-in-law, will be. He gets all the tickets. These tournament-wide pass. It's awesome. It's really fun.
I'm hoping if I go to a game with you, I'm hoping they play like a UConn or something. I will show up in like a UConn hat.
You have no idea.
Just to get
you
out
say
of
that
there.
now.
Yeah.
When you see those UConn fans at Madison Square Garden, you will never root for UConn.
I remember-
You'll think the state of Connecticut is. It might as well be Vietnam.
I would only do it
can't be worse than Philly.
yeah, I'd only do it to
It
bust
will
their
be.
chops because
You'll be wishing that guy from last week.
well, yeah, right. I remember that just last year when watching the Final Four at your place, and I think it was even cousin John who was saying like
Yeah.
goading Jill a little bit, saying like he was putting money on Kentucky.
She was
And
sitting
yeah.
behind the stairs.
Yeah, looking at the Providence game. She was all into it.
I don't know what those are called. The
The stanchions. or
yeah,
whatever.
she's sitting there
Yeah.
like she's in jail watching the
Yeah,
game.
she was. It was funny.
It was awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then I'd be remiss as a former girls basketball coach not to bring up girls basketball and the fact that Paige Becker's back this year. So UConn, of course, is going to go on their run. Caitlin Clark from Iowa, who
Caitlin
hit-
Clark's
and,
fun fact.
and won
Cousin
3.
Ryan Slate
Yeah,
is actually sitting at a bar with Caitlin Clark's mom. They're in
There
North
you go.
Carolina for a
Nice.
tournament, and
There
they're
you go.
staying at the hotel that they're staying.
well,
staying at.
did you see the N1 that she hit from the
Yeah,
Iowa logo the other day?
she's-
Ridiculous.
She's ridiculous.
She's
She's the
something
best
else.
player
Yeah.
in women's basketball. Right?
Yeah, and then of course I think it'd be Paige if it weren't for the fact that she had multiple torn ACLs. I feel bad for someone that I know.
She's just a bucket, Caitlin
yeah.
Clark.
She's
She's
ridiculous.
Well,
She
like the
creates,
old
she
fashioned
shoots.
when she's in the gym, she's in range.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, she's Steph Curry in female form, basically. And then,
She's
of
got
course,
stones
like Michigan State, you had LSU get a huge upset the other day, which
Yeah.
is like the first national
against
champion.
Colorado, right? Colorado.
Colorado,
Yeah,
Colorado, the
Colorado.
king of the first week beatdown
Yeah.
in their respective sports.
Yeah, for real. I mean, their football programs, which is a great segue. You're natural at this
But
podcasting thing.
I
as we
would say
saw.
the same. I
Never
would say the
mind.
same thing for LSU and Coach Mulkey. That like Izzo, you're going to get somebody like that. Get them early. They're on that high of winning
I
the
gotcha,
championship
yeah.
last year. They're a little bit cocky, which they were winning the championship. I had some issues there, but not to go backwards.
What, that you can't see me or the ring
whole
thing?
yeah, the whole
but-
thing was ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
it is.
anyway.
It is what it is. But no, we'll go back to Ryan's perfect segue that you cut off there by bringing up the coach. But we'll go to college football now. We have picks coming.
Yeah.
As always, we'll let the guest. As always, this is our first guest. So
I'm
we'll
interested where you're going.
yeah, we'll have Ryan go first with picks. We'll delve into each game a little bit.
Notre
and
Dame,
then-
you can keep the points.
Yeah, right. And then yeah, we'll continue from there. So let's go ahead, Ryan.
So
What are
my
your picks?
College picks. I think I sent them to you.
You
guys.
did send them
Give me
to
one
us.
second. I don't. Out of principle, I did not pick this game. But if there were a bonus pick, I would pick State Penn to beat Michigan.
Okay,
State
statement. I
Yeah,
like it.
State Penn.
I didn't pick them because I believe you have a pick on that kid. No, you did
No, I
pick
did
Penn
not.
State, didn't you?
No,
I thought
did
you
not.
did in your-
No,
one of yours.
no, I have
So you didn't pick them.
my
Maybe I did.
favorite SEC team after I fired Georgia. I do like Kentucky football too. I
Yeah.
think Mark Stoops does a good job there. But Rocky Top, Tennessee, they're on the road against Missouri this week. Missouri's what Dirkowitz is doing over there is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the Vols. I think they're laying 1.5 or
They
catching
are.
1.5.
They're
Keep
laying.
them, whatever it is. Rocky Top's winning.
I wanted to pick this one, and then I saw you pick it, so I was like,
Sometimes
okay,
you play a
there,
team
yeah.
like UConn.
That's a
Look,
good
UConn is in the middle of a resurgence, but They had some guys running open last week, which was a staple of their offense last
Yeah.
week. Maybe it opens some things
It's a
up.
get right game.
Defense
Yeah.
has been playing phenomenally, so hopefully the offense follows.
I just want to throw out there out of our picks last week, I got that one right, minus 35 and a half
Yeah, it
against
was
UConn,
yeah,
so
that was an
easy one.
Yeah. I also will take Utah. I love Utah the way they play
Another one I
football. They
avoid 'cause
play
that's a
defense.
Utes.
They run the
You two
football.
Utes.
They ran into Oregon at a bad time, coming off a big win against USC the previous week. This would be a college football playoff quarterfinal for all intents and purposes.
And that's Washington, right? That they're playing.
Utah is playing Washington
Yeah.
this week. They need a win and a miracle, but I'll take them. I think they're catching 9.5.
10 and a half.
10
I
and
saw.
a half.
10 and a
So
half.
Utah plus 10.5.
Keep them.
Keep
Really?
them.
You're calling it outright.
I believe it was you again, your bachelor
So
weekend. That said
Washington doesn't play great
points.
defense, and Utah does. So
What was your
No,
first
their
clue?
defense
The fact they gave up 40-something points to Oregon?
and then they gave
Their
up
shootout
50
against
to
USC,
USC
yeah.
last week. That was a good game.
was.
And then I'll also take the points with Ole Miss against Georgia.
Yeah,
So I saw a stat.
10 and a
I
half,
hate
right?
stats. My buddy sends me stats all the time on gambling, and it just clouds my judgment. But I'm gonna have to share it with you guys because I saw it. Favorites in top 10 matchups on the road are like 46 and 80 in the last
Jeez.
10 years against the spread. So I'm gonna take Ole Miss with the points. Top 10 matchup.
What's the spread on that?
10.5.
No,
They're not. It's not one of my picks, but
no, it's not one of mine. Although
I'm going to give the dogs what bone to chew on there because they didn't squeak by. They beat Missouri in respectable
Yeah,
fashion.
they beat them. Yeah.
But I think they still are due for that wallop game.
I avoided that game because I saw Ryan picked it, but I did want to pick that game as well because I do think Ole Miss does keep it close. Lane Kiffin, I mean, say what you want about Lane Kiffin, he does a pretty good job, with keeping scrappy teams scrappy. Like that, he did it with
Like
that
Lane,
thing, yeah.
Here we go. In the last 10 years, teams getting plus 50% of the bets of matchups in top 10 teams have gone 46, 91, and 4. That's
Wow.
34% against the spread.
That's tough.
Both of them, Michigan and Georgia,
Michigan.
qualify for that right now. So, look, I don't like stats, but I do like betting good teams against good teams, and I like taking the dog. That's a staple of mine, so there you go.
So I was wrong. I actually took Penn State money line against Michigan. I took that
Oh,
one.
money line,
Yeah,
FTP.
and
Do you
it's
know what that means?
because.
Fuck the points.
FDP?
FTP.
Oh, I thought you said D. That's why I was just
No,
like,
no, no.
what? I have no idea what the D means.
I didn't quite hear it
FDP.
either, but I got one thing up in my ears. So this
Yeah,
might be-
you got the headphones going on today. We're rocking without it. I figured we didn't have one for our guests, so I was being courteous. This guy apparently says screw.
Somebody's gotta
yes,
make
screw
sure.
Rank
it.
has its privileges. RHIP.
True, which is why you're going last on this one. But the reason why I picked Penn State, not only because I do think this will be the first true test for Michigan this year, who's had pretty much a cupcake schedule. They're blowing teams out. I mean, Rutgers.
Don't get me
yeah.
started.
But also, I want to say the last time Michigan got like some type of benefit from any NCAA was back when Jadeveon Clowney was on South Carolina and clearly short of the first down, were awarded a first down. And it was that viral Jadeveon Clowney hit, that fumble
We
the
were,
ball.
we were here. For
Yeah.
your birthday.
Helmet
So
popped off.
I'm going to
We were
say
here. I
this.
was in this house.
I'm excited to see Michigan get their comeuppance against Penn State and really, I think, knock them out of playoffs because I think committee is really going to say, no matter what, even if they beat Ohio State this year, that they're-
Committee's looking for a way to get Michigan
Yeah,
out of it.
absolutely.
Yeah. They have to go undefeated to make it. If they lose
Yeah.
a game, it's inexcusable because of how poor their
The
schedule
committee
is.
should be out for putting Ohio State over Georgia.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We can debate that later because we do have college football playoff rankings coming up in a sec after you make your picks. But it's funny that I mentioned I'd wear a UConn hat if I went to a Big East game
No,
because
you wouldn't.
I'm apparently a huge UConn hater this week. I have JMU minus 25 and a half. against
Okay,
US
look,
UConn
JMU, I
football.
hope they get their
You know,
eligibility.
yeah.
I hope they override that
They
rule.
should.
They should.
Bull
It's
crap.
And I
absolute bull.
actually-
You can curse on this one. Bullshit, man. Say it. Come on, say it with your chest. There you go.
Adding in the
Bullshit.
adding in the win over Michigan State, JMU's got to be a rocking campus.
Well, that's best. Oh, you're saying
Between
yeah,
the football
yeah,
team
yeah,
and
yeah.
that big win,
Absolutely.
it's gonna be a blast.
They're in contention for a New Year's Six game.
They
if
should get it.
If they
That's
figure it out.
If this were next year's
Give me a
rules,
frickin' break.
if this were next year's rules and 12 teams made it and they were still undefeated by the end of the season and they couldn't make it because of the stupid NCAA arbitrary rule, I'd riot.
So they appealed it. NCAA denies the appeal, saying these are the rules. Did you see JMU's second appeal?
No, I didn't
Well,
see
the
it.
rules are stupid.
There you go.
basically.
I love it. I
So-
love it. That's great.
That was really well written.
Yeah. My last pick is a twofer, and I've been consistent on this podcast since we started, always picking one of my guys' teams, and it's gonna be Navy money line against UAB, and of course the under 54.5. I don't care how good UAB is,
54.5.
54.5, which apparently tells me that UAB has a good offense.
And a bad defense.
Yes. Navy has gone through quarterback issues left and right. I don't know how they're going to score that much, but I'm really relying on Brian Newberry in that defense. So
All right.
I appreciate you picking Navy, bro. But
Hell
I,
yeah.
I had to stay away from my beloved.
don't
Mississippi.
give up the ship.
Never give up the ship. But
Well,
when
the
you're
Phillies
making
don't,
picks, you know,
You don't have to be on it.
right. I didn't have to be on the
Yeah.
Titanic.
Gambling is an optional
That-
tip
that's
every
true,
week,
yeah.
Nicholas.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, once you get on it, it's done.
All right, so my college football picks.
Please bet
I
responsibly.
actually share one with you, Ryan, in that it was number 14 Missouri dropped 2 spots right after being getting beat by playing a respectable game against number 2 Georgia, who I think should be number 1. So I was kind of surprised that they actually dropped 2 spots. They are home dogs, getting 1.5 against number 13 Tennessee. I think Missouri drops 2 in a row here. Tennessee and give the points.
Good old Rocky Top.
Yeah. And that's a little boost up for Lindsey Cannon, former players at
We're
Tennessee.
just
as
dropping names now on the
Yeah,
podcast. Okay.
well.
I wasn't going to say anything when he said Montana earlier, but I was just like, now we're just dropping random. Okay, we're going to start
They
dropping
deserve
names.
it.
Good
They're
shout
good
outs. I got nothing wrong.
So-
I love Lindsay. It's just like,
My second pick is number 21 Arizona, laying 10.5 at Colorado. And I wanted to say everybody was buffaloed by Colorado earlier in the year, right? But then they crashed down to earth. But I believe Coach Prime will resurrect enough energy to keep this close. So I'm going to take the Buffaloes plus the points.
All right.
Yeah, I
that's
almost
going
picked
to
that
be a
one, too.
shootout.
Yeah, it is.
that might be 100 to 106.
I only
all
stayed
right.
away from
As
that
long
game
as
because I
it's
saw you
within
picked
10.
That's
it.
right. As long as it went 10 in the hook, I'll take it.
I'm going to tell you this, though, and I think it's still underrated how Shedeur Sanders is probably one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now.
He's not pro ready, though, yet. That's the big thing.
No, but I mean, there's a reason why he's definitely coming back next year.
Yeah, because
so,
the stuff.
yeah, basically. Other than that,
Oh,
I think-
these guys are making money now. Too,
Yeah.
So what's the
And
Well,
and
apparently,
also-
apparently, Dion Primetime said that
Him and Tyler are going
Shedeur is
out
not
together.
coming out unless he's the overall number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going
That
to be
ain't
the
happening.
overall number 1 pick.
I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think that's kind of
if
a
the
hard
Jets
stance.
somehow get it, they might do it.
Yeah, just because it's Prime.
Yeah.
Wait a
Well,
minute, going back
just
to the
'cause it's the
Giants
Jets.
organization, they could make a bad call.
Well, that would be very crazy.
What would you do? What would you do if the Giants take Marvin Harrison Jr.? Who is the best wide receiver in college football? In football, I
so
think he
listen,
might be.
listen.
He did.
5 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have been like, "This is crazy."
Yeah, you were so happy for the Kadarius Toney pick. I remember that like crazy.
So, first of all, I still talented, but 5 years ago, you would have said, "Why would you do that?" But in today's NFL, other teams' quarterbacks become your quarterback all the time now. No longer is there loyalty in the quarterback
Yeah,
position.
no.
So, if that was the pick, you knew that they'd be going out to get another quarterback. Who
That's
it
true.
was, who knows? Maybe Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins. It could be someone we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's why I would not freak out as much because Marvin Harrison's a generational talent. But
Cool. We'll trade you Trey Lance for like a first round pick. Giants might do that.
nah, Shane's good with trading for the picks.
That is
I don't know if he's good at using them yet.
no, it doesn't. Sorry, go ahead with your last pick.
So my last pick is actually kind of playing into the NCAA hoops rivalry concept, but I'm giving a nod to the Duke North Carolina
Oh, okay.
game.
Yeah.
The Blue Devils, I expect to hang tight with number 24 North Carolina in Chapel Hill. I'm going to take Duke plus 14.
Mike
That's
Elko,
it, that's-
former Notre Dame coordinator, is doing a pretty good job with the Duke defense.
That's another good
Duke's been
segue,
good
by the
for
way.
several years now.
Yeah. They have been going back to when what's his name? Coach, why am I forgetting his name? Peyton Manning, coach of Tennessee. Cutcliffe, thank you. Yeah, when Cutcliffe was there, they kind of rejuvenated the program, and they've done pretty good since then. But it's a good segue into another Giants pick because one that I see popular on because I'm an absolute insane person. I start looking at mock drafts already. Drake May, right? That's his name, Drake May,
Very
the
talented.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Very popular Giants pick early on right now.
Listen, I'm in the Caleb or bust camp.
Yeah.
I think that Caleb Williams is he's just one of those guys, you know.
Is he gonna play offensive line as well?
It's a long
That's
way
it.
to go.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, the Bengals when they got Joe Burrow, were they
No.
even close to
No.
being Super Bowl ready?
No, he ran
They
for his
still
life.
don't have an offensive line, but guess what? things happen quickly.
No, and
They can.
Joe Burrow is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, at least top 3.
I think he is the best. I was going to save that for later.
All right. Well, we'll keep on saving it for later because right now we're gonna
I
go
blew
through.
it.
That's all right. we're gonna go
Jumping
into
ahead.
we're gonna go into the college football playoffs right now. Their rankings came out again this week. We got Ohio State remaining number 1, Georgia number 2, Cheater U number 3, Florida State 4, Washington 5, and Oregon 6, just outside the playoffs. Well, Washington and Oregon. Then to round up the top 10, you got Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Penn State. I know you hate it, but Ohio State still deserves to be number 1. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think they do, but I think the committee is somewhat hypocritical because if Ohio State deserves to be 1, Florida State deserves to be 2. They've beaten
I agree.
Clemson on the road when they were ranked,
Argue,
and they
yeah.
beat LSU in a neutral field. Those other 2 teams have not beaten anybody of that caliber. Oh, I guess
So why-
Georgia had
Why are we
Missouri last
skipping
week.
Georgia? Yeah.
Georgia had Missouri,
Missouri last
week.
week, and they're playing Ole Miss this
But
week.
but
This
it's their
week, but
first
it's
yeah,
strength
but
of-
you got to
It's their-
play your schedule.
But
But it's the
strength of
first 2.
record.
And they've won, what, 30-something games in a row?
So
Right.
after this week, you can rank them higher than Florida State. But right now, Florida
I
State has
rank
the
them
better
above
resume.
Ohio State. They're still number 1.
I know you do. I
Knock
know.
them off that top.
But
So,
it,
in the AP polls, yes, but for how it's written, I believe that Ohio State is 1.
Who's on the committee? Larry Moe and Curley?
Do we screw
Whoop,
them out?
whoop, whoop, whoop.
But I think Florida State deserves to be higher.
I don't disagree.
They, to your point, they've beaten the teams on their schedule. 2 of those teams are ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well,
We're
Clemson
ranked
is
at the
not
time,
not
yeah.
ranked anymore. One of them, they have the highest ranked win. Well, they did up until last week.
So I could understand that
Or
argument.
Alabama too.
I can
Yeah.
understand that argument like Florida State versus Michigan. To Nick's point earlier, Michigan really hasn't played anybody yet.
No.
But when you get to Georgia, who's the 2-time defending national champion, hasn't lost a game in 2.5 years,
Yeah.
how do you knock them off because they haven't played anybody yet?
That's a fair point, and it's something that I necessarily agree with on a year-to-year
But they
basis.
can make that switch really. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make that switch this week.
It could be,
If,
yeah.
if Georgia
After
wins.
Georgia beats
Strength
Ole
of-
Miss.
I believe
Okay.
it's strength of record over strength of schedule.
Yeah, that is how they
Ohio
say
State
it.
has a better
There's the
record right
eyeball
now.
test too. If you're a
There is.
committee, you don't like stats. You don't run just by that stuff.
Right.
There's the eyeball test.
I will say this: no matter what the rankings are, we have a very unique opportunity this year to see an all undefeated college football playoff. Because realistically, we could see 4 teams undefeated in the playoffs. Ohio State plays Michigan. Other than that, the other 4 currently, no, I'm sorry, the other 3, because I mentioned 2. The other 3 currently undefeated teams don't play either of those teams. So you got Ohio State, Georgia, Cheater U, Michigan, Florida State, and Washington all undefeated.
There is a chance for this to be the craziest year
Yeah.
because if Alabama runs the table, beats Georgia in the SEC championship.
Yeah.
If Oregon beats Washington and the 2 of them win out,
Pac-12,
and so then that's a 1-loss team. Texas runs the table. Now you have Big 12 champion Texas against Big 12 SEC champion Alabama. Texas has beaten Alabama. Are you going to leave Georgia out? To your point, probably the best team in the country. Ohio State and Michigan, that could go down anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there could be serious chaos.
No,
in,
Which is
college
what they
football.
want.
I'm a big fan of 2 for college. I hate, as you know, and I said the other podcast the other day or the other episode, I said I
I mean,
hate.
all these teams could.
Yeah, they could it could be absolute chaos, but I hate.
JMU.
Well, I was gonna say I hate underdogs or not underdogs, but mid-majors. Thank you in college
Group of
basketball.
5 in football.
But football, I'm all for it to the point where, and you kind of beat me to it. If JMU runs the table, how do you not include them? Yes, I understand if they don't beat anybody, but if they run the table and you just mentioned it, Georgia loses, so that's another 1-loss team. If either Ohio State and Michigan have a 1-loss team, or if they lose, one beats the other and the other loses in the Big Ten,
Yeah.
yes, obviously I know they're going to promote the SEC Big Ten in the playoffs. Their champion is getting in. There's almost a guaranteed spot. But if Florida State loses, if Washington stumbles,
Pac-12 is probably the best conference this year. I mean, they have some good teams. Out
it is very competitive. Their games happen, but there's also no defense.
Yeah.
If they go up against teams
Utah,
with defense,
Let's see what happens when
Yeah.
they play
You're
with
right.
the smash mouth conferences.
You're right.
but it is interesting.
But
And,
the 12 team, to your point, is going to be great because the group of 5 schools, I think, are going to
Yeah.
put up bigger fights against like the number 7 seeds than.
Can't wait for Navy to get in there, baby. Let's go.
Not this year.
We'll be waiting a long time.
Now we
Yeah.
got a great recruit coming in from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the 3-star recruit when everybody else is
What's gonna
recruiting
happen
5
first?
stars.
Navy wins the American or the
Don't.
Cowboys?
Oh,
Makes
So
the
that's a
Super
great
Bowl.
segue to our NFL picks. As guest says, guest goes first. NFL picks. We're gonna ignore the hate from the Giants fan right now.
All right, NFL.
I'm sorry, real quick. Is Notre Dame in the playoffs this year? Or are we just
No,
completely
not
okay?
this
I'm
year.
sorry. Go
Not
ahead.
this
Go.
year.
We're gonna go. We're
Listen,
swinging.
it's gotten
yeah.
worse ever since I stopped playing football because I'm more invested in it because I'm not playing on the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just like I can't catch a break.
You can't take out that aggression. Like Notre Dame lost. I can
Yeah.
at least I can win. But no, and you had that luxury as a football player and fan.
Yeah.
My team sucked
I'm
in
gonna
high
join,
school.
like, a local flag
We won
team.
one game. So family flag football game. We'll get to that in a sec.
NFL Ravens Browns under. I do think the Ravens are playing the best football in the league, so the under scares me a little bit. But two very good defenses. Like I said, the AFC North is where football gets played.
It is a good. Yeah, it's a good division.
I'll take the under there.
Okay.
Jags +3 against the Niners. Niners coming off a bye, so maybe they straightened it out a little bit. But the Jaguars are playing better every week. They're 6-2. I like them.
Interesting
I think they're
note.
on
Take the Jags beat the Niners.
So
+3. I'll take
Plus
the points.
three,
I'll
okay.
take the points.
teams that have beat the Cowboys this year have not won a single game after beating them. So the Cardinals are 0-6 after beating the Cowboys. The Niners are 0-3. I'm excited to see what
That's
the
pretty
Eagles go.
interesting.
It is.
That
So
is
like if the
interesting.
Niners
And
lose to the
the
Jags,
Eagles are going up against a
very
absolute-
tough schedule.
yeah.
So I'm very interested to see if the trend continues. Like
The Giants haven't won one since the Cowboys, but no, they haven't won.
But no, like it is an interesting thought. Like if they play, because we always say about Yankees, Duke, whatever these teams are, that's your Super Bowl. That's like your. If they all treated this team because the Cowboys got so much hype as that game,
Yeah.
and then they had like every game after that as point. So I almost picked the Jags too. I love that
So at
pick.
Colts Neck, we have a thing called the Colts Neck hangover because when
Yeah.
you play us, it doesn't matter if you beat us or we beat you. You're just hungover
You
the next
wear
week
them
because
out.
we're just so
Yeah.
damn physical. It could be the same with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in they got smacked by the Niners, but who knows?
Yeah.
And then my last pick. So I saw a stat. 83% of games in the NFL in the last 10 years, the spread has not mattered. So the favorite, when they win, covers. Obviously, when the dog covers, they win as well. The winner has covered the spread in 83% of the games.
I thought you didn't like stats.
It really...
That messes with you. I was
Oh,
gonna
it's
say that
interesting.
has
It
to
really-
mess with your
Gambling
head.
stats.
I'm not like a big favorite guy, but it really... I don't know what the word is, but it opened my eyes to thinking about NFL betting a little bit differently.
It's mindfuck.
I'm going to take a favorite here. I'm going to take the best quarterback in football, who's playing like the best quarterback in football,
Okay.
on what a serially underrated defense. I'll take the Bengals laying 6 to the Texans, who's playing very good football as well. I think the Bengals are playing better football. I'll take that.
Yep.
Right, so that brings up a point. Like after we're done with our picks, I got a question for both of you guys. So we'll get to Big D and then me, and then we'll get to
Yeah, I know
my
we're
questions
going a
here.
little. I know I'm probably talking too much, but I'm excited to be here.
No, you're good. I'm excited to have you on. Our episodes run generally long, and don't pay attention to that time because for me
right.
it's easier to
Oh,
edit videos than it is to edit
Makes
this.
sense.
So I just clip the
I
video
can sit
from
here all night.
yeah.
This stuff's great.
Plus, there's
Nah.
been some great ad libs. So
Yeah.
you gotta let it roll.
Yeah,
When the
yeah.
player's
Yeah.
on a roll, let him roll.
Yeah, go with a hot hand, right? So go ahead, go with your picks here.
So I'm going to agree with you, Ryan. The Bengals are on a roll.
He didn't
and
listen
I
to the
think
roll, by the way.
I think
That's
it will
fine.
Yeah.
continue.
Sometimes head to head's better.
No, I don't disagree, but we're trying to.
Heck, if we get it wrong, you can absolutely shit on me next week. I'm not watching the podcast if I'm wrong.
Whoa! Advertise. The one rule is to advertise. You are listening.
Watch the podcast.
So I'm going to take them.
Watch
I
what
actually
you-
had it at 7.
Okay.
But I
Yeah,
even
that's
7.
about
Lay the
right.
7, they're
Yeah.
going to win. Number 2, it's an awful lot of points, especially in the NFL, especially in a rivalry game, especially within
boy.
the division. But the boys find themselves in an
Uh-huh.
absolute turkey shoot. And like President Reagan in 1984, Dallas is going to win in a landslide. Lay the 16.5 points. All right.
I love it.
And then my third game is in honor of my brother, and it actually is going to be a little bit of chaos at the Alt House on the West Coast. This Pittsburgh Steelers, who are, as we mentioned
big
earlier,
game.
a sneaky 5-3 this year. They host my nephew Caleb's favorite team, the Packers, and are laying 3. I said break out the terrible towels. The Steelers cover at home.
That's got to be tough for Uncle Mark because the way you look at it, like you're a fan of the same teams your father are for the most part. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of to have a son.
I've never
that,
really
like,
comprehended
yeah.
people that aren't.
So Caleb, as your older cousin, I'm gonna say, listen to your father. Probably switch allegiances.
You can blame
go
Brett Favre.
Steelers.
I
Yeah.
think Caleb was a big factor.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
All right.
All I
Still,
know is that if anyone tries to get my future children to root for the Cowboys,
I can't wait.
the Mets, that's
What do you mean?
gonna
If anyone is that a threat?
we'll be throwing hands. Yeah, this is subliminal.
Because you know Uncle
This
D's
is
a-
subliminal
No.
warning.
I don't think it's subliminal when you just come out and right
Get
say
my
it.
dog's a Cowboys collar. I'm going to war. No, but yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting dynamic.
Xander last week said go Cowboys.
I can't. I
He's
love the
all
fact
over
that
that.
I love the
Kid.
fact that I corrupted that young man to becoming a Cowboy fan. It was fantastic.
He
It helps
will.
that
He
Will
will.
and Luke are Cowboy fans, but
That's true.
yeah. All right. So I'm gonna stay consistent. I'm 1-0 in this pick. I'm gonna go 2-0 by picking the Germany under. It's 43.
Gunder, yeah.
Yeah. The Gunder. I like that. The Gunder. All right. The Gunder.
Gunder, if you're from Germany.
All right. Even better. Gunder.
I like that ref
The-
from last
yeah.
week with the false start. Did you
There
see
you
that? He called it in German.
Yeah, I
he
did.
told
I
me
told
that. I
him,
didn't see
yeah.
it, but
He didn't
told me.
miss a beat.
Yeah, it was
pretty
really
cool.
good. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Gunder. 43 is the Gunder for or the line for the Pats Colts. I think both offenses, especially without Anthony Richardson, are.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing special.
I
Although
think all the Europe unders.
Yeah, knock on wood, please. Because I same thing I said. They travel out there. The stadium isn't always the best quality and whatever. You know, they play soccer and stuff there. It's just different
40,000
sport.
people at the game.
Yeah.
last week.
Drinking
That's
big
pretty
beers
small
and
for
eating
them.
Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, exactly, and you know it's a lot of tourism stuff for these guys.
Pretzels.
They're out there with their families and everything.
Bavarian.
I'm gonna go with it. This was basically a pick 'em, so I went money line here. But Titans money line. I have faith in the Mayo drinking, eating fool that is Will Levis.
What do they
I
play?
think they play the Buccaneers.
They look
It-
pretty good. Will Levis.
Even in that game against the Steelers, which you know was a tough game. You play T.J. Watt is just phenomenal.
He's a
Should be a
beast.
Dallas Cowboy, by the way. We went Taco Charlton over him. Great pick.
Great choice.
But like, he had a tough defense. It's a tough defense you're going up against, and he still looked good. It's kind of same stat line that Zach Wilson had against I think a good defense of the Chargers. I don't think they get a lot of credit with Derwin James, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack. But
Yeah,
like,
their stats say a different story, but they do have a lot of talent.
right, exactly. So like, you go up against pressure, it's gonna affect you. And Will Levis being a rookie quarterback, he is composed, phenomenal arm, as we saw in the first game, 4 touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins. It's just he went up against a really good defense and one that
Kentucky
could.
guy, Will Levis.
Yeah, absolutely. My other pick, I went opposite of you here. I know you said Ravens are playing really good football. I think they are so fraudulent. It's not even funny. I do not buy into the Action Jackson train. I never have. I don't think he is a. This is like an old head argument, but I just don't think he's a sustainable quarterback. Like we've seen over the last few years, kind of like injuries here and there. And look, I'm all for it. I like a guy that he represented himself in contract. He has faith in himself. Love it. But there's just something about it. Like they surround him with seemingly talent, and then it just doesn't happen anywhere. Like,
Do you know that he's the number 1 rated quarterback, and his receivers have the
What'd you say
number
about
one,
stats, man?
number 1 drop rate in the NFL?
what'd you
Can
say about
imagine
stats? You don't like
if they
stats.
caught half those balls, and I mean, he would be head over heels.
Yeah.
In terms of just the stats.
But
True.
what do they define as a drop? Again, if
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
running this way and
Yeah,
Lamar's
yeah,
putting
yeah.
the ball and I
Yeah.
gotta reach this way, I put a hand
the
on
game
it.
that they
the-
lost to the Steelers, it was atrocious.
Yeah, no, it was an ugly game.
I gotta tell you,
And the golden rule, by the way, is you get 2 hands on the ball. You should
I
catch it.
understand
Just don't out
that.
there.
I understand it.
Hey,
When all your momentum's taking you that way, the ball's behind you, whatever. But we were talking about a shitty organization before in the Giants. I think the Ravens have been a phenomenal organization over at least the last decade.
They've done a good job.
With Harbaugh and then Ozzie Newsome, I think is the GM still.
Yeah.
He makes great decisions.
And they've cycled out coaches, and you haven't really heard
Yeah.
much about it. Wink Martindale, the coach of the Giants, was their long-term DC, their long-term OC. They moved on from, hired the guy from Georgia this year, and they're actually running a lot of the same stuff. And that's when they started scoring.
Yeah.
They watched last year's tape and said, I think he was onto something. Greg Roman might be his name, but they're well run. And they almost got rid of John Harbaugh a couple of years ago, if
Yeah.
you remember, and they signed him. And
Yeah, but like you said, they are well run and they do have faith in their guys. So it's nothing against the organization. I think that defense that the
and they're
Browns
great
have.
in the trade market.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. They are really good at that.
Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Where were
Yeah.
our teams for that?
Well, it's funny.
Sleeping.
Roquan Smith was one of my. The Chicago Bears were one of my doghouse picks that I didn't pick because Roquan
Yeah.
Smith basically just shit on them this
Yeah.
week. He's like, I have the exact quote right here. It says, "Man, it makes me so happy just knowing my career is not going down the drain when asked about being traded from the Bears to the Ravens. And like that is just such a like I'm gonna shit on you quote. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then I actually went bonus here because we always pick Cowboys. So I went Cowboys. I took the points as well, minus 16.5. That I think they're just 40 to whatever it was.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
points, but it should be 3 touchdowns.
And then I also took Cook's anytime touchdown scorer, and I couldn't find it anywhere, which pisses me off. But Micah's sack total, I want to take the over. I don't even care if it's 10. I think he is gonna absolutely eat Danny
It won't go
DeVito
that
alive.
It-
No,
it'll be like 3 and a hook.
no sports book. Yeah. I keep
Brees is
dropping
playing.
it. Yeah, but I keep
Throwing
dropping.
subways all over the place.
Is that Danny DeVito, the Karate Kid?
No,
Danny DeVito.
no.
Danny DeVito is
I was wondering what you were doing.
Twins.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Taxi. He was.
He was always sunny in Philadelphia. The short guy with the Jersey Mike's commercials.
He looks like the guy from Hercules.
Yes, he voiced
Yes,
him.
I know,
Okay,
but he looks like
yeah.
him too.
So everybody who's listening to the podcast and not on
He's
YouTube,
still alive.
Yeah. Well, yes. No, he's live. But what Ryan just did was the crane kick stance.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
see
yeah.
it if you look on YouTube, but it was
Who's the
fantastic.
Karate Kid's?
His name was Danielson.
Danielson,
in the thing.
what's
Yeah,
his
but
last
it's
name?
Ralph Macchio.
I
is,
know.
It wasn't
you're trying-
DeVito.
I have no idea what his last name was.
That's
That
a
is
great trivia question.
That is a really good trivia question.
I
I mean,
forget it. Yeah,
we could look it up real quick, but it's all right. So yeah, I mean,
LaRussa.
LaRusso.
LaRusso.
Yeah.
yeah.
LaRussa's auto.
DeVito and LaRusso.
Look at me getting
There you go.
it.
Hey,
DeVito and LaRusso the same thing? All names sound alike?
Italian.
so two things. Now that we're done with picks, and I love that we just went off the rails here. That was fantastic. But I did want to. I have a few questions for you guys pertaining to the NFL. We're midway through the season. It's that time of year where it's like mid-season picks. One comment I've seen though, and then nobody's really mentioned, Jason Kelce. He's up for sexiest man alive. that right now, he's up for the sexiest man alive. So I mean, who's your mid-season pick for sexiest team? By the way, by that I mean like who are you looking forward to? Not necessarily like what team is necessarily like top spot, but like kind of flirty, kind of like okay, like see them making a run. Sexiest team. That's what I'm going to ask you guys.
Interesting.
I can't pick anybody but the Cowboys, so I'm like I have to object from this.
Sexiest
but,
team alive,
sexiest
so-
team right now of the year.
We're
Sexiest man of the year. I alive is
Yeah, they named
is
a couple
clearly.
different ones.
Yeah, it was him and a bunch of like stars, but like Jason Kelce
First
beyond
of all,
it. Like,
Kelsey's eyebrows rule him out, man. He's got like caterpillars on
some people like that like bushy look. Like normally, like you can't tell because I'm just going Movember, so I just have like the creepy stash and like it's like not hiding the jowls as well as a fat guy. So like,
sexiest.
but he's got the full beard. He's got like he's funny.
He's a rugged dude. I get it.
He's a funny guy, like Kevin
I
James.
heard
He's
Travis call him eyebrow man the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a little freaky.
so sexiest team right now. Sexiest team.
So
of the
not
year.
necessarily in terms of how far they'll go, just like
Team that you really like. Teams that like you like the players. They may not be doing that well. Like I know you're a big Trevor Lawrence guy.
that's where I would
like,
go.
Okay.
Texas Jaguars because T Law is arguably a sexy dude, right? And then you have ATN.
I love he says the quotes like he didn't mean it.
You have
Okay.
ATN, the receivers Ridley and Kirk. I mean, you got a really nice offense there, and the offensive line's not
Ingram,
horrible.
another flop giant.
Yeah.
Going
I think you just convinced Ryan to
And
join
he
your
loves-
sexiest
he loves
team list.
Ingram as a
Yeah,
target.
oh, yeah.
He does
How
great.
could you not? He's
Yeah.
don't get me started.
So I
On Evan
I think,
Ingram or just the team?
It's just the giant.
I would throw the Jags in that category for me.
Okay, Jags.
Duval.
I mean, I've mentioned two teams on this podcast twice now.
Yeah.
It's got to be between the Bengals or Ravens for me. I'm a homer-ish
Go with Burrow
to the
just to piss
Bengals.
JP off.
Ode to my brother who
Joe
thinks
Burrow.
Joe Burrow is overrated. He's the best quarterback.
Still drives
in
me
football.
crazy to this day.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
Alright.
I think they play. I think they are stout on defense. I think they play good offense. They run the football. Burrow is sneakily fast.
You can say it. He's sexy. You can say it.
Joe Burrow's a good looking dude.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right.
Attaboy.
We'll go with the Bengal Cats in Cincinnati.
You got him to basically he goaded you into doing that. What he did for Trevor Lawrence, so that he felt better. He wanted to feel better about calling Trevor Lawrence a sexy man. So he's like, "Come on, just do
I
it.
am
Join me, Rye."
secure in my masculinity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is a stud. All right, he's a stud.
To be fair, out of the three of us here, married, getting married, single, so I really don't have room to speak.
You better not
but-
be calling any guys good looking.
That's why I abstained.
Not with that
from it.
mustache, Freddie
That
Mercury.
being said, CeeDee Lamb is a beast. Okay, let's not get
Not with that stash, Freddie
Yeah.
Mercury.
So
He's
I want to go because I asked you guys sexiest pick of the year. Next, I want to go with the flop of the year. You know, so far midway through, and we still have a lot of games left, a lot of football to play. We're not done till February 11th this year. Flop of the year. I mean, you got
I mean, the obvious pick would be the Giants.
yeah.
But I'm actually going to go with the Patriots.
Okay.
They brought in the coaching that was supposed to, the offensive coordinator was supposed to turn things around. They're the worst team in football. The Giants would beat them with Tommy DeVito.
Wow, you think so, huh?
They're bad. The Patriots are bad.
I
And
think Tommy would just crane kick them like right out of the building.
I would just say,
Karate Kid already.
I would just say, I think they're the flop. The Giants had high expectations. They're probably the biggest flop in the history of football, but Patriots are right up there with them.
Okay.
I'm going to take a page out of your earlier book, the city of New York, because the Giants and Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and the Jets still could conceivably. I had picked them to win the AFC East.
Yeah.
I'd picked the
Terrible
Giants
pick.
to make the playoffs, and definitely from my perspective, two big flops. So the city of New York, but just I think in football in general, it's a major letdown. So
I can't pick any of those teams because I actually called that at the beginning. Like we all have that texture
You didn't
going.
say
You guys say
sophomore
Giants.
slump,
Giants. I said we're going to be out, and I did say that Jets for whatever reason. I didn't see the Aaron Rodgers.
The
Achilles
Jets are
tear.
my least favorite team in the NFL.
Yeah,
I,
least
I
sexiest
hate
if we
the
didn't-
fans. I
Yeah.
hate everything about it.
Do you think that's because you're here though? Like if you were in California as a Giants fan, like this guy.
Well,
being
the
a
Jets
Cowboys
fans
fan,
are
why
just,
not? They're
I
hopelessly
saw a
optimistic.
poster. I wish I could put it up. It was played the Chiefs tough for 3 quarters, and it was like a banner,
Moral
like they were
victory.
hanging from the
Moral
It
victory.
was just like, give me a break. And
Did-
then,
yeah.
oh, we should have beat the Chiefs. Well, you should have lost to the Giants, so
Yeah.
it balances out. That's how football works. Stop saying you're good. You have a good defense. You've made terrible decisions as an organization. You know what? I'm switching my pick. The Jets.
Yeah, the Jets are the flop here.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Josh McDaniels. I think
Okay,
again, once
yeah.
again, he had the keys to the kingdom and he just fumbled the bag. Which we found out that Max Crosby came out on, I think it was either Pat McAfee show or Bussin' with the Boys, which is the Barstool podcast. I think he said that the whole Josh McDaniels thing about him saying "don't talk about the Patriots" wasn't true. Whether he said that in front of the team or with Antonio Pierce behind closed doors, I think that's like to debate. But like he still flopped it. Like he had you have I think a phenomenal defense. I'm a big Max Crosby fan.
He is.
I think
Patrick
they're
Graham's a great
monster.
DC.
Yeah.
He's a great DC.
He's 100 miles an hour and just ripping
Yeah.
people
Great
apart.
story.
and then you get everybody you want, which apparently he didn't because he wanted Tom Brady, found out that he was retiring, then tried getting Derek Carr back. Derek Carr already moved on.
Yeah.
So like, and then you get Jimmy G, who is like again your guy in New England. You bring him in. You don't throw the ball to Devontae Adams. Josh Jacobs, who was the NFL
Devontae
leading
Adams
rusher
had
last
one
year.
target
Yeah,
in the Giant game or the game before. One target.
it was the game before
before.
because
One
yeah.
target.
He probably didn't have many in the Giant game because the Giants got the shit kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you had a team, and again, it was Troy Aikman who said it a few weeks ago on Monday Night Football. You had a team that went to the playoffs under
Yeah.
Rick
Oh, yeah.
Bisaccia, and he just fumbled the bag 2 years in a row.
You
We
are
talked
100%
about this
right.
last week.
That's a good
McDaniel's
pick.
never going to be head coach again. Nor should
No.
he.
The Bill Belichick coaching tree is
Horrible.
proven itself to be terrible.
Horrible.
The Giants keep hiring from the well. I consider Dable to be half from the tree because he kind of has been independent. But
Yeah.
The one guy I
Organizations
would
have to move
hire
on.
who's
yeah.
is
Well,
Vrabel,
yes.
but he's never been in
Yes.
Belichick's coaching.
No, he
Correct.
just played for him.
he
Yeah,
was
Yeah,
at
just
Ohio
played for
State, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Ohio
he was
State
like
guy, yeah.
high school
Played with
player
Urban
too,
Meyer.
yeah,
Coached
right.
with Urban Meyer. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a good coach.
Yeah.
Everybody else, to your point, we talked about this last
Yeah,
week.
we
like
did.
Charlie Weiss and Roman
Cornell.
Yeah.
So do you
Joe
fi-
Judge?
Joe
Don't
Judge.
absolve these two hit
Do you fire
wonders.
Bill Belichick then? I saw something today where if he doesn't win in Germany or if it's not
He's on the
competitive,
hot
he's
seat.
he's fired
Did you
before he
see
comes
that
back.
they,
back.
that they gave him a big
Lifetime
contract?
contract I saw or something
But
like
that, I mean,
which
they'll
is
put him in the
ridiculous.
front office or something.
Yeah, I heard the Commanders coach is going to make a big. The Commanders'
Rivera?
new owner is going to
Oh.
make a big run at Belichick.
I saw that too. Yeah.
He's a big time money guy. He's trying to make a splash, similar
Yeah.
to Steve Cohen. Listen, I know you're not going to watch this, but the owner of the Commanders, if you are,
Yeah, I was gonna say, who you advertise these
take
advertise?
a page out of Steve
say-
Cohen's book, another billionaire finance guy. Build from the bottom up. Don't go get Bill Belichick. His
Yeah.
coaching style is outdated. He hasn't won in years. look, he's a great defensive mind, but it's not working. Move on. Do you fire Belichick? I don't know. He's
I think,
such a
I think at
legend.
this point, you let
7
the
titles.
season ride out.
Yeah.
Out of respect for him and everything he's done for New England, you let the season ride out and then write him.
I actually think fans will be
And
more
Vrabel
okay.
will be the coach of the Patriots. by the way.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good pick, but I think the fans would be more okay with it because the more and more he gets separated from Tom Brady, you have fans saying, "Oh, it was Tom Brady," which
Yeah, it
that's
was
another.
both.
That's
It was
another.
both.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
another
both.
topic
It
for
was
another
both.
day. But
There was 4 years Tom Brady won a Super Bowl because of the defense. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
both.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could go through history and say, I don't think Joe Montana wins without Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Bradshaw wins without Knox.
said the same.
Or
Yeah.
Noel, I mean.
Lombardi and
Staubach doesn't win without Landry.
Yeah.
You can keep going forever and ever.
all right, so before we get to family flag football, which I'm excited to talk about because I think we got some big things coming up on the podcast regarding that. I do want to get to our new segment, Dunk of the Week. Now, Dunk of the Week, as you know, when you dunk on somebody, it's a little disrespectful, right? So, like, my dunk of the
No,
week.
I don't know that.
Yeah, to be fair, the one time we played pickup and someone went to go dunk on you tore them down and ripped their shirt. But my dunk of the week is going to be, and if you haven't seen it, I urge you to watch some clip. It's going to be Riley Gaines, who has made news all over the last few years. You know, she's the Kentucky swimmer that's very outspoken in her advocacy for the sport, for female sports. But she got into a little spat with Keith Olbermann, who I think is highly overrated.
He is.
But he
overrated. He's
yeah, he is. I mean, he's been fired from ESPN like 3 times, NBC like twice, whatever.
Somehow he keeps coming back.
But he
I
tweeted
hope he watches
about Riley Gaines saying how she's mediocre.
this. out of the blue. Like
Just-
it was a shot in the
yeah.
dark on her.
Absolutely. And her response,
That's what it is.
well, her response is the dunk.
Yeah.
She decided to take a video of herself, and apparently before she took the video, she broke one of her SEC trophies. And throughout the whole video, she just says, "I'd be more upset about breaking this SEC trophy." And then she pans over to her trophy case. If I didn't have all these, it's like SEC championship,
They sent me
national
a new one or
championship.
something, yeah.
Like there's just so many medals.
Mediocre swimmer
championships.
with all
Yeah.
these titles.
And yeah, she holds the record in like the 200 meter like breaststroke or something like that. Like unbelievable dunk. She literally like might as well like 360 tomahawk like
Yeah,
Keith
it was-
Olbermann and just like put her medical court balls on his face. Like, it was
Riley,
ridiculous.
If you're watching this, my cousin's single.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Yes, she is. Riley, my number is no. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so let's get to family flag football. I don't need that anymore. I know Ryan's on the IL this year due to an Achilles injury. C fans like we have 15, but C fans, it comes to our podcast as well. Achilles injuries are real. Hopefully we.
Well, I don't
stop
have
on
one,
turf.
but the reason I'm not playing is the injury du jour is the Achilles injury this year.
Oh, I thought that's what you
And-
had. Oh,
no, let me explain.
False
If
report.
we have a 1% chance of tearing your Achilles at the family
Put your
flag
foot out.
football game, you have a 0 if you don't play. I'm getting married. My fiance will never
Call the
let
sheriff.
me
What?
live it down if I show up and can't walk, dance, stand at the wedding. So
So
unfortunately,
Ryan, I'm actually going to support you on this
Yes.
because the weekend before my wedding years ago, I was playing softball in Holy Family, and I made this amazing come sprinting in from center field. I do one of the butt slide catches. Made the catch. I get up and there's an 8-inch by 3-inch gash in the
Yeah.
back of my leg, which was I mean it was you could see pores. It was like open ooze and blood. Not to get gross.
No, but we all remember that Holy Family like hard as hell.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was-
like it was not great.
Yeah,
but yeah.
so and I had to wear dress whites on my wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So I had like 12 inches of
Wrapped up.
gauze.
Yeah,
Alright.
no, it's too much of a risk, unfortunately.
So we know we're
It
not
was a fun
playing.
time.
I know you're not playing this year, but I know I've asked you a few times. And yes, I'm springing you a question. Are you going to be there this year? I'm putting you on the spot right here.
So we're still deciding because I
this
have
guy.
two options. So obviously I'll be having the puppies.
Yeah.
We alternate dinner. So this year dinner is in away territory.
Okay.
So it's
I
either
like that away
So
territory.
I have an away game
Yeah,
this
away
year.
game, fair
So
enough.
we
Giving the
either
points or taking?
How many turkey legs? What do we?
over under 3 plates. So we either start down here in the morning and then go back up, or we have dinner there and then come down for dessert. We're still weighing the pros and cons,
Yeah.
so unfortunately I can't answer it just
All right.
yet. But
Tough spot.
gotta see with the dogs too.
Yeah, what's the matter with you getting 2 dogs?
So
So you went from like the lows of lows for the year of like football to like your end of the year is gonna be pretty high. I mean, one, you're on this podcast, which I know is like probably top of the list.
highlight of the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jill did it.
No, I mean Jill's got to know like wedding's probably number 2 on Ryan's like end of the year list. Podcast wedding, you're getting dogs. Like everything's pretty exciting for you for the end of the year. And
Yeah, things are looking up.
Yeah.
You get bounced from the playoffs and things happen.
Yeah,
So
right.
the dogs, I figured I was gonna get them in the next year.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a big sucker for
I
dogs.
did want to wait, but
That's called impulse shopping.
these
right?
dogs were free.
Well, that's always good. Free
there's
is
no
good.
shopping.
Free is good.
I mean, free.
Yeah.
The out-front cost of acquiring the dogs
Sure,
was zero, but everything after
Yeah,
that.
the bowls, all that fun
That's
stuff.
not free.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we just pushed it up a little bit.
You got to know about your nephew too. He's a sucker for dogs. When I purchased
Oh, I know.
Nimitz, I sent him that picture
parents
of
still thank
Darby.
you for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It was great. I just like she's the only one left, and Ryan's like, "Where's the address?" And it was like perfect. Like I just reeled him in, just threw it out there, reeled him
Yeah,
in.
it's a great
So.
dog. Can't imagine life without him.
Yeah, Darby's a cutie. But yeah, let's get back to family flag football. If we are going to do it this year, if you are going to participate, I mean, obviously, I pitched the idea of you and Jill coaching. I think that'd be a great idea to have like one last
Yeah.
Jill's
tussle
a
before.
run and shoot girl.
I can
Post
see
night
it, yeah.
football. We
She
run
can
the
be my coach.
we run the football. She's like, you got to throw the ball.
Yeah,
I'm like,
which I told her on that one conversation we had is like I was sitting next to her in your state game last year, your state playoff game last year, and one of the parents was yelling that. I was like, you can't, like, she should know. You can't be yelling that. Like, support the team. Like,
stay on the ground, get to the body.
yeah, no, it's funny hearing her say that though. Becoming a sports fan before your eyes. Check that out. You converted her. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we started out, we bet first team touchdown scores. So,
Yeah.
the Cowboys playing the Giants on Sunday night.
Going with Jake Ferguson.
And you just bet one from each team, right? And that's how I kind of like roped Jillian into the. And now, she really likes a couple teams. Playoffs she loves, so it's good.
Got to get her into my NCAA pool. She'll be watching all the.
Oh, she does love college basketball
Yeah.
already. So
Big Fryer, right? That's
yeah,
what
her
we are.
brothers went to Providence, and I'm a quasi Providence guy.
I
St.
did
John's
just hold on
first,
last name,
but
sorry.
I do want to do a bonus NFL pick that I forgot.
All right, go for it.
Giants not to score a touchdown.
Oh, like at all?
Yeah,
the cow. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's hit 4 times this year.
Really?
4 or 5 times it's hit
For the Giants alone, or are we?
for the Giants alone. The
Wait, they haven't scored at all?
Cowboys, first game. The third game against the Niners, they kicked 3 field goals. Oh no, you know what? They scored that game.
Okay.
Who else did they play? The Bills, they didn't score a touchdown. The game after, they didn't score a touchdown.
All right, so 42-6 Cowboys.
It'll be 2
Graham
field
Gano
goals.
has 2 field
Well, it
goals.
won't be Graham because he
Well, he got hurt. That's right.
Yeah.
So it'll be the defensive back, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't he
you
the one
gotta,
kick?
you gotta find like you gotta find like first team touchdown scores and then scroll down no Giants touchdown. It's fair.
Fair enough. That's it. I mean, that is a hurtful pick for yourself, but
They were pitiful enough.
He's
a
They're
realist.
inept. They're inept. It's beyond bad.
well, we could talk about the ineptness of the Giants for probably ever, especially with us taking pot shots at you and having some fun. But we do want to thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure. We want you back as well because I can speak for myself and I'm sure for Big D over here.
This is much more civil than on the couch.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
you should bring it and just film Thanksgiving
God, no.
and just let it run.
There's not
4-hour episode.
I don't think there's enough skill that I have for editing to disperse all the random stuff. That's what you would hear probably.
Yeah.
So
Everybody needs a boomstick.
Uncle John
Yeah.
walks in, throws a grenade into the room, and leaves.
Yeah, that's exactly
Everybody
it.
else fires around.
But no, yeah, thanks again.
was a
Hopefully
pleasure.
you'll make it to the family flag football game because I do want to do a live draft on this show because I think that'd be a lot of fun hearing people's reactions, especially if JP doesn't get picked number 1 overall. He'd be yelling at this
What?
thing. But we're gonna end on this note. As always, the fun sports fact of the day. This day in 1945, college football's number 1 ranked Army beats number 2 ranked Notre Dame 48-0.
Bullshit.
Peace out.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
They actually beat Penn State 61-0.
Yeah, he wanted me to add a whole lot more. I was like, no, I'm not. I can't.
They
I
were
can't
number
do that.
1.
If we did this on Tuesday, we could have done the first college football game ever, Princeton Rutgers.